the big thumb.
At least it's down there.
We can make it a badge. Okay, so let's start. Full council meeting, and it is only 7:05, so we're doing very well. Apologies for absence.
Apologies from Councillor Hetherington, Councillor Morgan and Councillor White.
Are we happy to receive those apologies? Apologies received. Are there any declarations of interest pertaining to the agenda or any items on it? That appears not to be the case. Item number 3, minutes. To agree is correct. Record the minutes of the full council meeting held on 20th of March. Yeah, Councillor Sudbury.
Propose we agree the minutes, they are correct.
Do we need a seconder for this? Anybody? Yeah, okay, Councillor Harvey had his hand up first. Are we all happy to agree? Yeah,
Agreed.
that appears to be unanimous. And then we have another set of minutes, to agree as correct, the record, to agree. Sorry. The correct record, the minutes of the interim full council meetings held on 27th of February 2023.
Great.
Agreed. Excellent. And now we have minutes to receive. I don't believe we vote on those, but we have a comment.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Yeah, if I could present the minutes of the Planning Committee for Monday, 27th of February, 27th of March and 24th of April. There are no recommendations.
Happy to agree then.
Okay, we don't need to agree them, we only need to receive them, so there's no need to vote on any of these. To receive the minutes of the Town Centre and Events Committee meeting held on 3rd of April.
Propose the minutes, Town Centre Events Committee to be received and noted and have agreed at the next meeting.
Great.
Yeah. Receive. To receive the minutes of the Resources Committee meeting held on 6th. Oh no, hang on. Environment. I'm too eager here. Receive the minutes of the Environment Committee meeting held on the 17th of April 2023. I don't think I chaired that meeting.
I propose that we agree the Environment Committee to receive these reports.
Okay.
Great.
Receive. And now to receive the minutes of the Resources Committee meeting held on 6th of March.
Thank you, Mayor. I propose that we receive resources minutes from 6th of March.
Yeah, received. They are received.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 9, licensing application by loungers, formerly M&Co premises, to receive and discuss a report from the town clerk. Councillor Cole.
Thank you, Mayor. You'll all have seen the report from the town clerk. This concerns the licensing application by loungers, which operates bars, cafes and restaurants across England and Wales. And it's to serve alcohol and refreshment 7 days a week at 1314 Market Hill, the former M&Co outlet. Although the sale of alcohol in Buckingham was restricted in 2013 under the Buckingham Terminal Hours Policy, which was created in response to excess drinking and antisocial behaviour, in combination with AVDC and the police, it was removed by the new Buckinghamshire Council's Licensing Committee in October 2021, as it was no longer deemed necessary. This was done without consultation with the Town Council, despite the licensing authority's claim at the time to have consulted all Shire Ward councillors, towns and parishes. Buckingham Town Council discovered this a month later, in November 21, when it was opposing a 24-hour licence to sell alcohol and food at the BP Marks and Spencer outlet in the town. And although we originally went to the Magistrates' Court, we were forced to discontinue when we were warned that the cost of losing the case would be excessive. Our main argument was that Buckinghamshire Council's view the policy was no longer necessary was perverse. We believe that the fact that late night and early hours problems largely disappeared after 2013 was evidence in itself that it worked. The only current policy in Buckingham is the Public Safety Protection Order, which was renewed by Buckinghamshire Council for 3 years in October 2022. We're no longer challenging the loss of our terminal hours policy, but we should have concerns that the serving of alcohol until midnight and of late night refreshment until 12:30 AM, 7 days a week by loungers could have a detrimental effect on residents who live over town centre shops, restaurants and bars, and could see the return of antisocial behaviour at closing time. For these reasons, I propose that we ask the licensing authority to restrict the sale of alcohol and food to 2300 hours each night. Thank you.
Are there anybody else wanting to speak on this one?
If I may, thank you. I agree with Councillor Cole. Again, if this does go through, then we will probably see a creepage, which is what we don't want. It's not a town that requires those opening hours, so I don't see any necessary reason for having those within their licence. They're quite able to ask for a temporary opening hours later on, which if we're consulted, then I expect we would consider on a occasional basis. But to have it in your right to do that, I don't think is something that this town requires.
I saw another man somewhere, but
I'll just echo that, and like I said, I think 11 was quite adequate. With extensions as required, there's no need to bring in a 12 o'clock those allowance every day of the week, especially on Sundays.
Let's just say that if we have view, we need to express it. But one of the things with licensing, it's as Councillor Cole said, they've introduced a policy which is broadly across Buckinghamshire. I think if we're adequately concerned about these things, we need to enter into a dialogue about how policy works and expression about how we do a dialogue. Of course, we have no idea that whether they're going to get granted a licence, because it hasn't gone to licensing, to the best of my knowledge. And licensing is separate to everything else. So I would suggest that if the view is to support saying something, that we actually get into a dialogue about the specifics of the application, what it entails, and what path residents have done. Because eating food and drink in the licence, if I did it correctly, are two separate things, the alcohol and the food. And be very careful that we respond immediately with the actual planning regulations. So I think we need to at least do some investigation around what the application actually says, because it reads to me that there's two parts. One is the alcohol, one is the serving of refreshments. Refreshments aren't actually alcohol, so we have to be careful, because we might get told the two things confused. I think we need to seek advice on what the specifics of it is before responding, and how people get a response saying we haven't asked the right question.
Councillor Davies.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was just actually trying to have a look and see what the permitted hours that the White Hart actually have. I believe that they are open until midnight, on at least on Friday and Saturday nights. Should lounges be restricted to 11 o'clock, everybody will just leave there and go to the White Hart anyway. I imagine that the Grand Junction has got a 12 o'clock terminal hour. The sale of late night refreshments is something which is generally added on to that, and it only covers food and teas and coffees, etc., hot drinks, soft drinks and hot drinks. It doesn't cover any alcohol, There is no such thing as drinking at time, which is something that was that was mentioned in one of the questions. That went out in whatever year it was that the new licensing laws came in. I believe that in order to get new business into the town, we need to allow them to be able to trade. Thank you.
Yes, so we've heard from a number of councillors. Does anybody else wish to speak on this one? Yes.
Thank you, Anne. Yeah, Councillor Davis has got a good point, actually. I agree with everything that Mark said, but if there are other pubs that are allowed to stay open until midnight, then that would be being unfair to one over all the other businesses that are allowed to sell alcohol. So, yeah, I think she's got a good point.
Yes, Councillor Collins.
I think we need to find out which pubs have the licence into midnight, because I don't believe that's every night. I think it might just be a couple of nights, and I agree with everything Mark said, because it will introduce more antisocial behaviour. We already know that from the White Hart Times and other establishments. So I think we need to be clear on and find out what their licensing hours are before we put our two pence in. And if I believe rightly, I thought the police had a say and supported us on the licensing hours in the town. So I would go along with that. Thank you.
That's a subject.
I think we need to be very careful, because I think the assumption is that we're here making a decision. We're unclear what the licensing hours of all the other premises are. I believe that they are up to midnight. I believe the licence for Buckingham, well, we agreed with it, didn't agree with it, says up to midnight. And the food and drinks element, I think we ought to really, before making comment on it, as has been established by two other members, establish the facts around this issue, because cry wolf once and then go back for something more substantial and we won't be taken seriously. So I would ask with agreement that we do some research, and if that is the case, we bring it back to interim with the full facts so that we make the decision with all the information. I don't think we've got all the information incomparable, and we can't say that a premises that hasn't opened is going to do something because it isn't in existence. And we can't sort of say that naturally it's authentic because they haven't opened and they haven't been granted a license, not there. So I believe, until I'm corrected, that they don't grant them an endless license in the first instance. They probably will grant them a 12 months license, at which time it and aid is nodding, it would get reviewed. I think we do need to be very precise, because if we then go back with something substantively about licensing, and we've already made an imprecise and not completely correct assumption about this, we wouldn't be listened to in the same way again. So I think we would propose that we get the full information, bring it back to interim. That's not agreeing or disagreeing with anything anybody said, but I want to be sure that we are proceeding on factually correct information. I don't think we've got it.
Thank you.
Can I just point out the licence consultation process on the 24th of May?
That's an important element of information. Councillor Harvey.
Okay, there's some information there that we were lacking about the state of licensing. I think that the point that Councillor Davis has said is a valid one. And just like Robert, I was going to suggest that we remit this, but we obviously haven't got time to do that. So can I suggest that we, rather than object blankly, say that we don't think that the licence should be anywhere more liberal, shall we say, than existing licences in the town?
Yeah.
So it should be comparable to
Yeah.
what the White Hart
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
King's Head, whatever has.
Oh, well.
And it shouldn't be creeping up further, later, longer, more days. Weeks.
Okay, thank you.
So I propose that.
Okay, so we have two proposals.
I'll second that.
Okay, so Mark, yes, we have two more. If you would keep yourself to a minute, so very.
Do you want to go first?
Oh, no, okay.
Okay, thank you very much. So, as you said about licences being reviewed, licences can be reviewed at any time. So if there's antisocial behaviour, there's late night disturbance, anything like that. Complaints to the police, complaints to the licensing authority, the licence will be reviewed. There's not a terminal 12 months or anything like that. The other thing is just because the place has got a licence for those hours, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to use the licence for those hours. When I had my pub, I had a licence till midnight every night of the week apart from Sunday, which was 11:30. I chose not to use that on most nights. I didn't ever advertise that I was licensed till midnight. I closed at 11 o'clock. But should there be something going on in a village pub, people in there, I was able to stay open a little later legally in order to accommodate people. The terminal hour doesn't necessarily mean the time that the place will be closing. Thank you.
Councillor.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. There's one place that we haven't mentioned that I definitely know as I've been to this establishment myself, and that's Zinc. Now Zinc are open till 1 o'clock, I believe, on Saturdays and weekends. But also, you know, I echo what Councillor Cole has said, in the sense that if we have too much disruption, I think that it's only right so that we have sort of an 11 o'clock cut off during midweeks at the start of the week, or it will create antisocial behaviour. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we've probably heard extensively from everybody now. Councillor Cole.
Yeah, if I could just come back, Mayor. I don't think my proposal's been seconded yet, so I'll be quite happy to modify it to 2400, but not past that, if that would make things easier.
Okay.
But I don't believe that it was seconded, Paula, was it, my proposal? Thank
Okay,
you.
so your proposal is that we agree with this subject, that it is not, that closing time is, well, how do you word this appropriately? That subject to a closing time 2400.
Yeah, for alcohol and the serving of refreshment. They're two separate applications on the licensing applications.
Does somebody wish to second this? Okay, seconded by Councillor Collins. So we'll take a vote on this one, I believe now. All those in favour of the motion?
Just a point of information, there was a proposal of the seconder. Yeah, okay.
We're not taking them all.
We can do, but it was seconded after the other one was seconded.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we are voting on Councillor Cole's proposal, seconded by Councillor Collins, which is an agreement to the proposal subject to a closing time of 2400 hours. All those in favour, please.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay. We now have an alternative proposal. Councillor Harvey, would you?
Hang on,
Oh, we need, I'm sorry, we do need.
The other way is-
Close against, please.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Abstentions?
That's 2.
Must count.
Okay. Now, Councillor Harvey, your proposal was?
I'm not sure that it's still laurel, is that the word? I don't know. Because given that it's just been agreed what
Okay.
Councillor Cole proposed, my one's now kind of redundant.
Thank you very much. In that case, we can. Thank you also on the points of procedure. the need for that will occur occasionally. So let's move on then, thank you, to point number 10, the annual internal auditors report, the annual governance and accountability return, 22-23 final accounts and recommended earmarked reserves to receive and agree a report from the town clerk. Town clerk, you wish to speak or highlight any points in there?
Briefly suggest, Chair, there are a number of things that we need to do with signing paperwork off on this. Can I recommend that we go through report 1.1 one at a time? It will make life much simpler. The annual internal audit report is attached. Everything has been signed off. We do have some formalities, paperwork that we need to sign off once.
Okay, so let's go to your report. So it is recommended that members receive and note the annual internal audit report. Are we in agreement to do this? Agreed.
We record in the minutes our thanks to the town clerk and the team for putting the report together. There were 65 questions in the report and we passed every one. And I think that is really quite an achievement for a new team. I think we should record our thanks in the minutes for that. It's a major undertaking. We did discuss it in the Donahue's committee, but I do think full council should be aware of the amount of work that went into that. And that's no easy achievement. So I think we propose we record our thanks to the team.
Absolutely. Yeah, okay, so yes, the council thanks town clerk and her team for all the work put into this. So let's start again with point 1.1. No, we've done that one. 1.2, it is recommended that members approve the annual governance statement.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Yeah.
1.3, it is recommended that members approve the accounting statements.
Agreed.
But you would say that, wouldn't you?
1.4, it is recommended that if the above are approved, the chair of the council and the clerk of this meeting sign the annual governance statement and the chair signs the accounting statement. We do this now.
Ask a quick question on this. In our standing orders, we're changing chair of the council to mayor. So I wondered whether we needed to change in 1.4 chair of the council to mayor, or if it's okay as it is for.
I've used that because that's what the paperwork.
Okay, that's right. And despite my general objection to be referred to as man, I will nonetheless.
Oh no, it wasn't that. It was more we're changing chair to mayor. So it was that bit.
Okay, so I'm signing
It's a
to
good point. I won't do.
Oh, that's fine. Thanks, Claire.
But we haven't to paper.
Okay, is it just on the front page or is it anywhere else?
No, there's this one as well.
Oh, I see it, yeah, okay,
So
there we go,
what's the
bottom. Yeah. There we go. .5, it is recommended that members note the covering letter and observations of the internal auditor.
Yep, agreed.
Noted. Yeah.
It is recommended, 1.6, it is recommended that members note the attached end of 22-23 income and expenditure with the RFO's notes.
Agreed.
1.7, it is recommended that members agree the attached earmarked reserves for the 2023 to 2024 financial year.
Agreed.
Agreed. Point 2. No, that was. No, I think point 2, I don't need to read this out. It's all in the front. Anyway, we'll get there. We have received agenda item 11, annual town meeting on the 23rd of March 2022 to receive a feedback report from the committee clerk.
Receive with thanks.
Yeah, so everybody agreed? Yeah, you did. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paula.
Thank you, Paula. Now, item number 12, to receive and question reports from Buckinghamshire County Councillors, 2 of whom are present at the moment. Yeah, Councillor Stutchbury.
Just to say that those of which are interested in the subject, there'll be a report on mitigate dementia going to the cabinet meeting on the next month, in June. That report is only underdone by the Health and Security Rapid Response report. Members worked on that and it was agreed at the HASC, and that will go to cabinet. If cabinet accept that report and its recommendations, it may make some small way to mitigate some of the known concerns that we all receive on a regular basis, and help people's journey through that a little bit better. Also, I received a response which will go to events and probably then come back to here to do with the PSO order. I think that will probably just be noted at events. It's a written question response, and that will probably go to committee, but probably come back here. I also, in questioning, found out if you go to the webcast of the HASC, there were statements made around, public statements around the possibilities of the Swan Hub moving up to Lacehall. That was made within the meeting in the public domain. It was around sort of the ring fencing and possible moving of it. I suggest you watch that, then make your own minds up about it, and if there's any questions, come afterwards. The other matter, which is now in my inbox at the moment, is you will be aware, because you're all very much attached to public, that there is a dicotyledon, or when we in North Buckinghamshire go for medical treatment into Milton Keynes Hospital. It's not perfect, the transformation back from there back into care here. There was some discussions around that in the HASC around the how it doesn't work, and there was some quite open expression of the fact that the computer systems don't match, and people come into the community to our doctors, and probably I think they said about 90% of the emails find them and some don't. I've since then received a flurry of questions from the public on that issue, which I'm working my way through. I do think that we need to be minded to that issue. We do have a remit on this council through environment. If you wish to follow these things up on health, it hasn't actually happened for some time. Those things are important. You will note that the council has elected all its well, elected is a brave word for it, appointed all its cabinet members and positions on select committees and whatever. And they were all agreed at the last council meeting. Those positions that your local members represent in the public domain, you can do that and look and see what they're doing. And as I say, the questions around health, I'm just going to focus on those today. So many other things we can focus on, but I thought they were the most relevant issues to do with the community. And as I said, my written response to the question around PSO licensing will probably come back here at some point. I don't think it's something that wearing my town council events hat is where it should be discussed. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Oxford.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Just two reports on development just received. First is the funding for our Buckingham cycleway. So we're calling funding for that. Hopefully we expect that to take off any time from now. Also to appreciate Buckingham Town Council for this support towards the Buckingham box tree mission, how that's been a success as well. We've planted about 500,000 or over 500,000 trees in the county as a whole. Animal licensing policy, that's currently going. The deadline for that will be the 31st of May. And I know we talked about the licensing for pubs earlier on. I think if you contribute to this as well, if we have any views on it.
I think the deadline for that was 31st of May. Another thing I'd like to talk about would be the potholes and road repairs. I know there have been quite a lot of concerns about road repairs. We did walk, that's some of the ward councillors did walk around with the local area technician, ward officer, who has, I can say, taken steps to address most of the major defects we have. There are some minor ones which was completely addressed, but I'm happy to say that there has been funding approved for that. Now, most of the delay was due to the change in contractors, but from what I understand, the new contractors are bedded in now, and we will be seeing a lot of improvements on that front. And I think the last thing to talk about will be the household support fund. An additional 4.8 million was put forward towards that. It's important that if anybody in the local town needs any support, they can always access that through the helping hands. And I think I should also emphasise that if there are any defects on the road around your neighbourhood, we probably report it on Fixed by Street. That's the easiest and fastest way for it to be fixed. Thank you.
Thanks.
Are there, yes, Councillor Willis.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Just on the potholes and road repairs, it's been mentioned by various, this question is sadly, by Councillor Osborne. There have been numerous councillors on this council and council before which have mentioned the top angel on the industrial estate. Is there any plans to rectify that road? Thank you.
I can tell you that it's my last correspondence was it's in the scheme. What I can't actually tell you is a start date for it, and I would rather not commenting on it because, quite frankly, because it's in a highway scheme and it's scheduled to be done. But though they've said that, they haven't actually backed the work and said it date and the time. So it's in a scheme. It's supposed to be done imminently, but what I can't tell you is the date and time. So I think, you know, and as commenting, Councillor Bowman, Ady said about the active travel plan, what I haven't seen in that, and I didn't comment on it because I haven't seen the breakdown, and I think the information I've got on it doesn't give me the breakdown how that affects the whole Buckingham and what was envisaged. I think Ady will correct me if I'm wrong. I think they're going to consult with the town council on elements around that, but I'm trying to find the breakdown of it because the amount of money looks quite tremendous, but until you break it down into what it can deliver, where it's going to deliver, and it's a government grant, I haven't seen that yet. And that's why I resisted saying it about it, because I wanted to know a bit more detail before I suggested it was all high, because it's always the devil's in the detail with these things. Although it is a positive that there's been money allocated, we need to see how much of it's coming to Buckingham, don't we?
Just to clarify that, there were two schemes supported for Buckingham. Was Tim Drew, Mason Morrison, and Buckingham Town. Of the three, only one was successful. The other two we're currently taking steps to find out why they were not successful and if we can resubmit based on whatever amendments these are recommended. Well, I can confirm that the active travel plan for Buckingham Town has been granted, and we've got funds for that and that will proceed.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments to the councillors? No? Thank you very much for your reports. In that case, let's move on to item number 13, the review of policies and delegated arrangements as required by Standing Order Section 5. To review, amend or confirm the delegation arrangements to committees, subcommittees, employees and other local authorities. And we have quite a few appendices. Should we go through these one by one? Yeah, no, that's absolutely fine.
Should I explain?
Yeah, please do. Yeah, please do.
So under our standing orders, all of our major policies need to be reviewed at the first meeting on the first year of the new council year. This is why they're all on one big week together and it gives us a really big agenda. That is something that unfortunately we have to do. A lot of these have been looked at throughout the year. I'm sure you know various committees that we have looked at. Changing our financial regulations, for instance, which is something full council and resources have done quite a bit of work on. But what we're also trying to do is inheriting a system where we had different thresholds and different opinions on what should be correct in standing orders that were in the scheme of delegation that were in the financial regulations. So quite a bit of this is actually putting everything together that will say the same thing if they don't do it to each other, because that's very difficult. Steve has done most of the work on this. He has produced a report basically explaining every single amendment, but this is very paperwork heavy and there are a lot to go through, but we haven't recommended any changes to any terms of reference. If there is significant changes or any actual changes that aren't just spelling corrections, then there will be a side report.
Okay. Councillor Sutcliffe.
Yeah, I can't start with my first question. If the change in terms of reference, if there was, I want to see the alternative and the changes alongside each other to understand the change. So that's put my mind at rest on that. When I read most of them, are grammatical changes and things around the titles and Madam Mayor like addressing as chair and some wording changes to fit in with good practice. Am I correct in that? I didn't see anything. There wasn't no major detailed changes apart from correcting words which brought all the committees into sync and that there was a commonality. That's what I thought when I read it. I didn't see any major changes. I was going to go and if I'd had more time, I'd have gone and got the whole policy up, but thank goodness I didn't because you've told me that there was no changes.
Yeah, all the changes there will be. If you look on Steve's report, every single one is listed. There's nothing that I've snuck in that isn't there. Probably, so if you look at the first one, some of those changes are about who can actually sign off the power to sign the purchase order. At the moment, it says it has to be me for everything. Budgeted expenditure is 1.3 million for next year. I can't sign off every purchase order every time we need some blue rolls. So it's just a way of officially, it is realistic what happens now in any way. Just officially saying, for instance, that Bethany can authorise the purchase of the usual stationery order that we order all the time. So that is listed, and it also brings us into line with what the financial regs and the standing orders say. So that's probably the major change on the first report of the scheme of delegation.
Yes. Councillor Osborne.
Yes, I did just want to raise that there are quite a few major changes in there. I will start with the first one, which is on page 54 of 118. And I just want to explain the implication, so we can all be aware of why there's a major change. Now, starting with 6.1 there, I'll give councillors a minute to read that. 6.1, page 54. So what this does is it does give the scheme of delegation superiority over financial regulation. Now, if we do read through how the scheme can come about, this committee or subcommittee can create a scheme of delegation. And if that's done, whatever is written in that document can then override a financial regulation. I don't think that will be good practice. The next thing I spotted was when I looked at that's 5.5. So just give council a minute to read that as well. Right, do you want to pause on the first one?
I was going to say, surely it would make sense to me that we do this one.
Okay, no, yes, fine.
Otherwise, we're going to get very confused because there's a lot of content.
Don't need to respond. I think so, because I'm slightly lost as to where we are, I'm afraid.
Page 54 of 180.
Yeah, at what point is 5.1?
No, I was going to talk about 5.1, but I thought to wait on 6.1 first. Yeah.
Okay, so the clerk, 2,500, that is the one you're referring to?
No, the variance with financial regulation.
6.1.
Yeah, you've got 5.4.
5.1, yeah.
All in yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, okay, we have other comments. I think we had a comment from, or a hand from Councillor Harvey, from Councillor Fry and then Councillor Sutcliffe.
Can I strongly advise that we go through this point by point in numeric order, otherwise it's going to get really confusing. And we do it page by page if necessary, and we follow the agenda religiously, because otherwise we're going to be dipping around all over the shop, making general points and so on, which we get lost. So let's try and do this one appendix at a time, point by point. And it's sort of shot right to the end, so let's deal with that. But I would say anything else, let's go through the sequential order. Is my proposal. That's how we function, how we would best function, would be my view.
Okay, thank you. Was that a proposal that we could vote on? If so, is there a seconder? Yeah, Councillor Gately. Those who agree? Okay, thank you. Before we start doing this, Councillor Try, did you want to make a comment now?
No, because we'll come back to the beginning of page 52 once we've sorted.
Okay, so Councillor Suffery.
I'd just like to say that I respect view expressed. Commonality in actions within committees have a budget which is allocated to them. They do have to have a scheme of delegated powers to be able to carry out their duties. Otherwise, you might as well just not have any committees and everything goes through full council. If that's what we want to do, have full council every week. We can agree that change, but committees like in Buckinghamshire Council cabinet members have delegated powers, make decisions to be able to make things work. In our council, we have delegated powers for committees. We have to bring everything full council. Well, we might as well abolish the committee system and do it and have a full council on every Monday, because I read this, town clerk's drafted this, so it's a working document. The overall power of all this goes through resources, which then goes through the town clerk, which then goes back to the town council. It may sound immensely challenging, but I think that if this is a root and branch of change to the whole way the council's practice, if you want to undermine the way the committees work and undermine the next meeting you have with the committee, when you won't be able to make a decision about whether you order a bridge, you won't be able to make a decision whether you order some planters, you won't be able to make a decision whether you actually do an event, because you'll have to wait for the next full council meeting, which is in the schedule, whatever. So the reason we have delegated scheme of power is to allow committees. And overall, all these are our financial person here is the town clerk, and she's the only person who's got, we recognise in a meeting as a legal person to make statements. We pay the town clerk to do that. She's drafted this with 3 other people who've got SILCA, which is to qualification. But I'm very danger if you agree that we will have to draft whole new standing orders, because we'll have to have full council every week.
Okay, I will have to go on a little bit. I think there's quite a lot been read into this, and there isn't. We've always had a scheme of delegation. We've always, for practical reasons, had to devolve authority down to the other committees. What has, to answer specifically 6.1, that is simply if there is a deviation between the two. This document, the scheme of delegation, is owned by full council. It is full council's, as is standing orders and as is financial regulations. So it's not a case that the committees will write their own scheme of delegation, scheme of delegation. Was there some, I'm not sure if I was reading your point correctly. Was that the question you were looking at?
Well, that's not the question. The question is, based on what 6.1 says, the scheme of delegation will provide the financial regulation. And the question is, which should come first? It should be the financial regulation or scheme of delegation.
What we did here was that there was considerably more detail in the scheme of delegation, where they do overlap, suggesting that this should take primacy.
Well, shouldn't be the financial regulation. What's the best practice? Is it for the scheme of delegation to proceed the financial regulation the other way around?
All 3 documents that are relevant is up to this council, which they would like to take. So
yes,
they just want to get out of the position we're in, where we end up with contradictions, and then I don't know which is the primary document.
Right, and based on guidance, if I'm wrong, based on best practice, the financial regulation would come top.
That would be your opinion. I don't have any guidance anywhere that says that's the case.
Can I propose that we move to a vote on this? Because what I hear Councillor Buckingham, well, proposing, it's not been seconded yet, but I think you're proposing, Addy, is that we reverse the word for scheme delegations and the financial regulations, it's simply swap those two around. Is that what you're proposing?
Yes.
Okay, is there anybody second that?
Should we let the chair, John?
Sorry, Amanda.
Thank you very much. So we have a proposal.
No, we don't.
No, we don't. Councillor Ottoboghan, would you like to make a proposal on this one?
Sorry, Mayor, what I wanted to do initially was to run through the different points, and my guidance from what we voted on is we're going to take it from the top. So is that what we're doing? Because then we're going to 6.1. Because I thought we were going to go through it page by page based on what we voted on.
That's what we agreed.
Yeah.
That's what we agreed. Okay, so we're going back to point.
I propose an amendment. I've listened to our financial officer tonight. Our financial officer has given us a full explanation why we have a delegated schemes of whatever. I explained to you what the consequences of it is. I propose an amendment to that we agree the town clerk's recommendation of our legal financial officer and agree what is in the report.
Seconded.
Yeah.
Don't need to.
It's an amendment, not an alternative proposal.
Okay, I am getting slightly lost. We have agreed that we would go through this report on every single point.
Yeah.
And we have agreed this, so this is what we should be doing, I think, unless the proposer suggests that or makes it wants to withdraw his proposal, which I don't think is the case. So we have on. I'm not suggesting that I read out every single amendment, so we're going on page 53 of 180. There is a yellow highlight there and a blue one. Yes, Councillor Troy.
I thought we were going to the top at 52. There are no amendments. Sorry. But could you just enlighten me as to what FOI is?
Financial officer.
What's the I then?
What does FOI?
It's a scheme of delegation FOI.
I will be entirely honest with you, I have no idea where to put that in. You need a report regarding delegation.
Thank you. So we can scrub that acronym, can we?
That was a
The wrong way round.
I'm sure it's something obvious. but it's not.
right then. Page 53 of 180. I will just ask you to scroll down and raise your hands if you want to query one of those points. Page 54 of 180, subpoint 6, purchase equipment, etc. Subpoint 7. Oops. Right on.
Yeah.
Why is it jumping? Then urgent matters. Is a change in the expenditure limit there. Moving on, variances with financial regulation. There, do we have a proposal to change this, Councillor Ottoboghan?
Yes, Mayor, I do propose that we reverse the financial regulation to override the scheme delegation if there is any variation between what we involved.
Does somebody wish to second this? No secondment, so this doesn't go to the vote. Thank you, so that's. Ooh. Yes, Councillor Harvey.
Well, given what we've just been through on this particular report, can I suggest that we go back to the start on page 52 and take the recommendation from the town clerk, sorry, I'm trying to read nothing as well as talk, and we go back to the, which is to accept the revised financial, whatever they're called, scheme delegation.
So
that was a recommendation at point 1 on page 52. I propose that we accept that recommendation.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, and seconded by Councillor Davies. Who's in favour?
All those.
Anybody against? Any abstentions? 2. Okay, so before I get completely lost now, we are now looking at the committee terms and terms of reference. Councillor Klein.
Just a general comment, we've got prepared by Paul Hodgson at the top of most of these. Is there not one amended by such and such?
This is the current document, it will be amended once it's agreed at this time. I've made no changes to the document as it stands.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Salisbury.
The town clerk tell me the terms of reference are the same as what they are apart from grammar. In which case they are the same terms of reference and there's no substantial change to them.
Certainly.
So I propose that we agree that accept them because of all of them.
Councillor Davies.
I was going to propose the same thing,
Okay,
so I'll second it.
okay. So there's a proposal that we take them as a lot and agree the amended terms of reference. All those in favour, please. Anybody against? Anybody abstaining? That's unanimous then. 13.2, committee choices to receive and agree councillor committee appointments.
Agreed. Councillor Hetherington did put a request to add to committees.
Resources and planning.
That's right.
Okay,
Okay,
may I suggest, if members are happy with that, we add those with those additions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, agreed.
okay, agreed. So received and agreed with those two additions.
Yeah, agreed.
I'd just like to say, Councillor Andy Shaker looked very busy.
But there may be a certain amount of delegation coming along. Standing orders to receive a report from the compliance and project manager. That one. Yes, Councillor Cole.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one point, it's on, sorry, I'll try. On page 80, we're looking at item T, who, I have raised this to the town clerk, the names of councillors who are present at meetings and the names of councillors who are absent. It's something we don't appear to have been following for some time. We only put in the minutes, people are present and apologies received. So any councillor who hasn't apologised is not there, it's not mentioned. So I did have a chat with Claire about that. The officers, presumably the committee clerk, will in future follow the standing orders. Thank you.
I think that was just a comment, right? Is that? Councillor Harvey.
Yeah, I don't agree with this. If we're talking about how we record councillors who are present, I think most of us here would say that the arrangements that we had during the lockdown worked reasonably well. In terms of people actually being able to come in online for a meeting and be able to vote and propose motions as it happened. And moreover, if that system existed, when it comes to the election in 2 years' time, that might encourage people to turn up to the council who might otherwise find themselves unable to do it because of, say, childcare or, I don't know, caring responsibilities generally. So I think it's a shame that we have a government that is unable to find the time to actually put together the necessary statutory arrangements for that to be in place. Given that that's their decision, we obviously have to abide by that because we are working within the legal parameters set by the government for local authorities. On that basis, I fail to see why we should record as attending a meeting anybody who's not actually in the room. And if there's a note made, fine, but I don't think it should be a public document. I don't think we should be accepting the case that people who are not here are somehow recorded as being sort of here. Either we accept what the government has proposed, has created as legal parameters, they've abandoned what was happening during the pandemic lockdowns, and they're saying only councillors who are in the room are counted as being here, present, and able to make proposals and of course vote. So I'm absolutely against there being any measure at all of councillors who are not present in the room. Moreover, given the way we operate as a town council, it's already been suggested by Mark. I thought it was a reasonable idea that those of us who are involved in various working groups and various other groups as well, that too should be recorded. But that's been unreasonably put aside by the town clerk, saying we don't look at those meetings always, it's been more difficult to do that and so on. Fine. But on the same basis, as well, we shouldn't be putting in place arrangements to somehow pretend that people are present when they're not. So I am against the idea that we have any kind of public record of people who are not in the meeting, but who might be online.
Councillor Davies. It's all right. Okay, Councillor Ossie-Gorman.
Well, I'm thinking about me. I just want to clarify 2 points here when it comes to attendance. Attendance as to quorum and attendance for the 6 month requirement, which if you fail to physically be in the room, then you will be removed from office. There's no regulation around how we do meet. The only regulation we have is as to when you will be removed from office if you fail to attend a meeting. I think, and that's the distinction that should be drawn here. If we are less than the required quorum and we do not form a physical quorum, that meeting can go ahead. If a councillor fails to physically attend a meeting within a 6 months period, then that councillor can be removed based on the Local Government Regulation Act. Those are the 2 positions I am aware of. Now, what we've done here is we have an annual attendance. Now, if you had a 6 months attendance, and that would be understandable, because that would apply, or that would relate to the 6 month requirement. But this attendance we have is as to what end, what's the essence of it? Because from what I understood from the town clerk, when she spoke, when she sent the email round, it's not as to the operations of how performance of the councillors, but rather it's a record of what comes to meetings. Now that record for those who contribute, but if someone's not physically in the room and the person can't vote or oppose, then that person may not be there at all. Hence, we will not have councillors who could contribute virtually in the room. Now, what I understood initially when we had this discussion around the silent orders, that the other yours, especially a councillor then, was to see how we can improve based on the reality that the lockdown showed them and revealed it. Now, what I can see we're doing, based on the recommendation that's being put there, is for us to go back to pre-lockdown, which would then mean that the lessons learned in that period, because we had difficulties functioning during the lockdown period, will not have been learned. So what I would propose, and which you know, I'm happy even with the plan with, is for us to maintain virtual meetings. By law, if you are not physically present in a room within a 6 months period, then automatically you can be removed from office. But that should not deter you from attending meetings virtually. That'll be my proposal.
Councillor Shepherd.
Yeah, I mean, Steve's done a lot of work on this. He's put this together in a way it recognises where we are. I actually do. I sit on 2 other authorities, right? 2 other local bodies which elect people. If you're not in the room, you can't vote and you can't make a legal decision. So you can't be recorded as being there because the law says you're not there. So you can't have a standing orders in a council at this level, which is adverse to both the upper tier councils, where that is where the rules are. If you breach 6 months rule on whatever, it comes apparent. Normal practice, if someone breaches the 6 months rule, is politely democratic services in the sense it would be our town clerk would write to you advising you that you're in danger of breaching 6 months rule. Nobody really wants to trip anybody up. It's a gentlemanly sort of thing that officers and legal officers do. If we start homogenising what it isn't, I think during COVID it was fine. And I think for people who are unable to attend because they're unwell and want to take part in the meeting, we have to recognise there is no legal structure for someone who is not present at this meeting within what the government has said that they can make a decision. What we have to discuss is the legal framework around their participation in the meeting and how that is managed, because we presently have people attend for very good reasons, quite often personal circumstances, work commitments and things that they're not able to be here, but they can't actually be recorded in the meeting because they're not actually present at the meeting. So I think that is factually correct. And I think what's gone on here is we can't try to amend our standing orders, our practices adverse to what's going on, which the government has said, or which the upper tiers do. I sympathise with this modern world that we could have moved into, but we're not there. We can't act averse to what everybody else, because otherwise we could have a situation, we could fall in quite adequately that somebody makes a proposal, accidentally somebody seconds it, we move into a vote and find that the vote wasn't legal. And then we have to come back and do it all again. I think Steve, Town Clerk, whatever, have done a really good job at trying to negate this. And I think we're spending quite a lot of time this evening trying to second guess what officers have done and the motivation they've done it. They've just tried to respect the best practice they get, that they get for us. And in the end, they are our legal officers and we must support them. If we don't support our legal officers, that council comes into us. We only have a finance officer. We've luckily got 3 people on this council, got Silka. We're very fortunate, you know, all got legal powers and understand local government legislation. I'm happy to go with them because they're independent. They take a view. We might not always agree, but I know at the bottom of it, they're acting in the public interest. So I think we should agree these regulations. I propose that we agree them as said and vote on it.
Thank you, Mayor. The reason I raise this tonight is because there is concern that councillors who are here tonight are elected by the electorate of Buckingham. There should be some record that those people can see that they're attending meetings and they're voting on their behalf. A councillor who's online and is not voting is not really representing the electorate. And this is why I think it's so important that this big, we're not making a change here. This has always been here. It's just it hasn't been acted on. And that's why I raised it. So we owe this to the electorate. That is why we are here tonight.
Okay, can I, sorry, I've seen your hand, but just so that I can, we do not, let's start again. What I'm hearing does not, to my mind, contradict each other, and please correct me if I'm hearing this wrongly, but just so we get to a sense of what it is we're wanting to agree with. Councillor Cole agrees with point T, I think it was.
Yeah, T2, yes.
T2, that the names of councillors who are present and the names of councillors who are absent will be recorded. And he is saying that you are saying that this should be the case, and that the committee clerk should make it a practice that this happens because it's felt that this hasn't happened before. So it's actually not a proposal, it's just
It's
a comment that this is a good thing and this should happen.
No, that's exactly right. Thank you.
Okay, we have heard, I think from, no, I let Councillor Harvey say what his proposal was, because I'm a bit hazy here now.
Okay, it's about this word present, isn't it? Because we've got this point T2, which is the names of councillors who are present and the names of councillors who are absent. At the moment, we've got a third category of councillors who might be present but only virtually, who are not legally therefore present. So therefore, how do we deal with that? Now, in the past, I have no objection personally to people who are councillors who are partaking in the meeting, whether they're in the room or not, for those names to be recorded. I don't think the councillors who are online should be recorded as the same as councillors who are present in the room. So we kind of need a third category. So I would say, for example, I would propose that in T2, it should say the names of councillors who are present in the room, the names of councillors who are present virtually, and the names of councillors who are absent. I think we need that definition in there because that's the legal situation. Yeah? Moreover, I would say that when it comes to point Y, the sentence beginning additional data, delete that sentence altogether. If people want to investigate who was virtually present, who was actually present, by going through the minutes, they can do so. But I don't think we should be requiring the minutes secretary to produce the data that Paul did, for example, showing this extra special thing. I think it should just say all the councillors who were present or not properly present, as it were. I also think point Z, I don't think any councillor who's not in the room should partake in a confidential meeting. I think you're in a confidential meeting, you've got to be here, because that's what makes it a confidential meeting. We can see who's present in the room. And whilst they might say, oh yes, so-and-so can't hear it, who knows what might, someone might come to the door and just overhear it. We don't know what's going to happen. So in my view, we don't allow people to be in a confidential meeting unless they are physically present. So those are the three specific proposals, one by one from me, if you wish, and you can take them all as one go, or you take them point by point by point. But the point is, as Robin was saying, we must comply with the law, and the law as it applies to the upper tier authorities as well as it applies to us. We can't be doing something different.
Okay. Councillor, from you.
Thank you, Mayor. If we do have a third category, then I think there needs to be an explanation to the members of the public what that means, because if I was just reading those that are present, those who are absent, those who are on Zoom, I wouldn't know that the people on Zoom can't vote, can't propose, can't recommend. I wouldn't know that as a member of the public. I would just think they're there on Zoom, they've got the same powers as those in the room. We know that they don't. I'm saying as a resident, I wouldn't know. The third point of John's, I agree with, and I'd happy to second that.
What was the third point?
About as long as confidentiality.
Confidential session.
Councillor Harvey is proposing that point that
3Z.
item 3Z is removed and replaced by an item that says that no councillor is just
Remove.
okay.
I'll second that.
I think, sorry,
Councillor Davies was first.
I think it does need to be spelled out that if it's a confidential meeting, then virtual attendance is not allowed, rather than just deleting the whole thing.
I would second that.
I'll go with that.
I'll go with that.
Councillor Trier.
Absolutely same.
That was your
But yes, it was.
Yeah, Councillor Wright.
Just a helpful thought, the person on Zoom, could they be formally called observer status members, which would make it clear to the general public they were there observing in a formal capacity as an observer, that thus differentiating between people in the room who have the full rights to vote and make various points. And I wonder if that would sort of clarify it for the public in general.
So Gately.
Yeah, thank you. I don't think that would work because they're not just observers. They can comment, they can contribute to the debate. What they can't do is to vote. So they're not just mere observers.
Right. Thank you. Councillor Secretary.
I went to planning training today, and I listened to it. At no point of planning training did the officers advise me that it would be okay for me to attend by Zoom and take part in the meeting legally and be able to do it. And the training was very interesting. And at no part in Buckinghamshire Council's standard orders does it say this. In no part in Buckinghamshire Fire Authority standard orders does it say this. And the thing is, as I say, we have to have commonality of the way that we act. We start doing that, it's the slippery slope to be dysfunctional and unfortunate. If the government changed the regulations, then we will match those regulations and give people those uplifted liberties, which I think no reasonable person would object to. But I think at the moment, I would propose that we cannot treat that the same. There is nothing wrong with observing meeting. There's nothing wrong with a member who cannot attend for very good reason. You have to define what it is. And if no other council would, I've heard planning people say, why can't we meet like we used to in Buckinghamshire? They were told quite clearly by the RFO and the legal officers of Buckinghamshire Council, you must act within the regulations. There's a lot of chunder about it right after COVID. And well, not COVID, still going on, isn't it? But right after the things returned to somewhat normal. But I think we cannot have a distinction. And as Margaret says, you are taking part actively in a
What's your
meeting.
proposal?
I propose that we make sure that we stick to the local government regulations, which you have to be present in a meeting to partake it. Nothing wrong with a member of the council observing. I don't think we should be encouraging active debate because the public do not know, as Margaret quite rightly said, Councillor Gately, what their part within the meeting is. And it's getting very confusing and can influence the decision. I could not sit at home and influence any standing committees I'm on No one would allow it. So why are we allowing it? We have to ask the question. The government changes the rules, we change the rules, but at the moment we can't allow it, I think.
Thank you. I will take one final point from, no, okay, in that case, I want to put the proposals made by councillor Harvey to the vote, one by one, please. So your first proposal was that we add to point T.2, the names of councillors who are present and the names of councillors who are absent, and you are proposing that we add a third category of councillors who are present on Zoom.
No, councillors who are part of the meeting on Zoom. I think it is word present. We need to make sure that.
Okay, so you want to add a third category of councillors who are present, no, not present, who are observing the meeting on Zoom.
Yeah, they're not observing, they're speaking, they can speak.
That shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be on Zoom, right.
That's a separate proposal that you made, that hasn't been seconded.
That, I think that's a different proposal, whether they can speak. We have let them speak in the past. We have let them comment where they have been able, because we have felt that they were sometimes able to provide a useful comment. They have not been able to put forward a motion, they have not been able to make a proposal or second a proposal, and they have not been able to vote. We have let them comment or ask questions. But that isn't councillor Harvey's proposal. Councillor Harvey's proposal is that we note them as a separate category. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I'm struggling with the words, but virtual commenters or something, I don't know. It's a clunky.
Virtual attendees?
Virtual attendees. Virtual
not
attending.
attending.
They're not attending the meeting, they're not present, they're not here.
That's where the virtual bit comes in.
Okay, you are now proposing virtual attendees. Would somebody like to second this?
No, I just have a point to make here.
Yeah,
If they're going to be virtual, will they go on the minutes?
well, that is
That's it.
precisely the question. That is councillor Harvey's proposal, that we record them on the minute as a, on the minutes as a
That
separate
cannot be
category.
the correct record of the meeting. Because the correct record of the meeting are the attendees, but not by virtual. So if they can't go on the minutes, then they're not here. It's just like a Hansard. You can't, if they're in the chamber, there is recorded in Hansard. You can't do this, somebody coming in virtually. Not
So that we can all vote according to those different views, yes.
I just want the town clerk to say what the legal status is naturally. The legal status is naturally that all meetings are attended meetings and all decisions have to be attended. What we're trying to do is a variance to the national legislation. I think that's a dangerous thing to do. If you do it, I won't support it, because I think further down the line there'll be a question against us on a legal framework, whatever. You're treading into ground which we can put correct now. If the government amends the legislation, happy for it to amend. But at the moment, I think we could run ourselves in a situation, somebody could draw the conclusion that a person in a meeting who had not got any voting rights because they weren't present had influenced the discussion and then spent money, because we actually spend money with 50 delegated powers terms of reference. We make financial decisions. If you're happy to have a ad hoc group, I'd be afraid I'm not going to vote for it, because I don't.
No one's
think-
seconded it yet.
No,
so
but I'm
fine.
not going to vote for that.
Tom Clark, please clarify.
I will take the 3 points. The first one regarding T2. I can't think of any legal reason that we can't record a third category, provided it's very clear that it is a third distinct category, and I believe that is up to the point what has happened previously. Whether or not you wish to do that is a matter for members, I think both would be acceptable. In regard, I will point out that Y does give clarify the status of somebody attending virtually, and they may be allowed to speak by the chair. That's what it says. They may not vote. The reason for not counting them as part of the official attendance record, I have asked around other committees, and most people do not allow virtual attendance anyway. It doesn't really come up. Once you, as much as an officer can have a view on this, is that the official attendance record should tell the public who is attended in a position to exercise their capacity as a councillor, and that is to exercise their vote. Again, you may decide, I can't find any legal reason that it has to be that, and you may decide you wish to do it differently, but that is the reason why we have made that amendment. in regard to point Z, we have in the past had people in confidential sessions, that's been established. I don't particularly like that for the reasons that have been suggested. If members wish to just say point blank, there is no virtual attendance during a confidential session, I certainly can't see any reason why say against that.
Good.
Okay, so I really feel we should put this to the vote
Yeah.
now, because I think all the arguments have been there.
Yeah.
You can vote against it.
Yeah.
And then that is a view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not seconded yet anyway.
Can I just check that?
What have you
We are
voted?
these bits a minute, Mr. President. There are three separate proposals, is that correct?
There are three separate proposals. One proposal is to add a third category to point T.2 as a virtual attendee. Does somebody wish to second this?
No.
There's no seconding for this, so this does not go to the vote. The next point was a proposal in point Y to remove the final sentence. Additional data shall also be published, which includes councillors attending remotely, for example, online. Does somebody wish to second this?
That's taking out that line.
That is taking out that line.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, in that case, it goes to the vote. All those in favour of taking out that line?
Which line is this? Taking
The
out the
one
word.
additional data shall also be published, which includes councillors attending remotely, for example, online.
So we
Everybody who wants to have that sentence removed.
So we won't be calculating people who attend online. That's
Yeah.
basically what it is.
Sorry, point of order, if we just agreed that we're sticking with T2 as is, it's illogical to have that last sentence in TY, in point Y.
That's why we're voting for it to come out. That's why I
Yeah.
don't know
that's
why
why
people
it's
put their hands
It's
up.
not come here. Yeah, but sure, logic, I know what it is.
So
Logic.
therefore, take a vote.
Okay.
Please raise your hands if you want that sentence to be taken out.
That's why I can't understand nobody voting for it.
Yeah,
It's like-
yes. I think we're past the debate stage. Yeah, we are voting on this. Anybody against this sentence being removed? Anybody abstaining? 2 abstentions.
Okay.
And then the final proposal, so this proposal is agreed, then the final proposal was that point Z be removed completely.
Yeah.
No.
And inserted that only real presence is allowed.
Physical presence.
That, so the point is that point Z be
Virtual attendance at meetings is not.
Yeah, so let me summarise this.
May I, as I've noted?
Yeah, you please.
I've gone with, there will be no virtual attendance during a confidential session.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the proposal, that this is the replacement for point Z,
Second.
and seconded
Yeah.
by councillor O'Donoghue. All those in favour? Okay, just to be sure, anybody against? Anybody abstaining?
Well done, Mayor.
Yes.
We haven't agreed the whole thing.
We still need to do that, yes.
We've got to go through the rest of it.
Yeah. Councillor Harvey.
Okay, I know all the changes from chair to mayor and deputy chair to deputy mayor and so on. But I got confused about what applies to committee meetings. Because these standing orders apply to all meetings, not just council meetings. Have I missed the point that there's a subtle sentence in there somewhere which says during a committee meeting, there will be the chair, not the mayor? Have I missed that?
These standing orders, as said, it's. I think I'm not exactly sure which specific one you're talking about.
There's all the way throughout.
You have missed it, John, because like say, sorry, Mayor, is it okay? Say on page 84 of 180, where you've got 6. So I'm just taking that as an example, John. You've got like C, the chair of a committee. That was what you were asking, really, wasn't it? So
Take the man.
it is in there. It's not just mayor, deputy mayor, it's chair of a committee.
Yeah.
they should have all been, sorry, I'm interrupting again, but they should have all been individually checked as and when they are relevant, it's not a blanket change.
Yeah. Well, when I scan the document, that's what I noticed earlier. So fine. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, councillor Arthur.
Yes, I just had got the vote. One was on page 79 of 180, June. I noticed we reduced public speaking from 15 to 3 minutes. I'm wondering why that is, because I understand why councillors can be 3 minutes per on each item, but for us to restrict members of public to 3 minutes, I think that's slightly unfair. But I'm happy for us to discuss. I could all propose that we maintain 15 minutes and worst case scenario reduce it to 10. Well, not 3 minutes. 3 minutes is too little.
The suggestion was, and again, this is very much up for debate, at the moment, if we have one single member of the public, then they are entitled to take the full session. And there is nothing to stop in standing orders, for instance, a single member of the public turning up talking for 15 minutes and other members of the public don't get to speak. This is quite a common thing to do, is to say that the members of the public get their 3 minutes, each individual member of the public gets 3 minutes up to a maximum of 15, which brings them into line with the amount of time that a council have to speak.
That's good.
If you have an invited guest, or then obviously that's different, standing orders, if you have something particularly important that you wish to have more time from, you have got the option to suspend standing orders to hear further from them. I just thought that it seemed a little bit strange you have a member of the public who would have the right basically to come and speak for 15 minutes, and that's obviously 5 times what a council would be able to do.
Councillor Willard.
I was just going to say, yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Harvey.
Yeah, I think we need just a caveat in there. We're saying that the member of the public should not speak more than 3 minutes unless agreed by the council. But because I think, we're supposedly practiced in speaking for less than 3 minutes, because that's what we do all the time. But somebody who's come in to talk about, imagine, I can think of several people who are regular attendees at our public sessions, saying you've got 3 minutes, you can't speak for anything more than that. It's going to be a bit harsh. And actually, we should be a listening council, and we should allow people who maybe don't speak as quickly or as articulately or as whatever as we do, a bit more time. So I think we need to have a caveat in there, which would be to say 3 minutes unless agreed more by the council, which we do in effect anyway.
I'll go with that. I'll second that.
Yeah. Second that.
I've already seconded it, sorry.
Councillor Tribe.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with everything, but I don't think we've quite got the wording quite right yet. Because if there's only 2 people, they get 7.5 minutes. Because that creates the 15 minutes. So they can speak with more than 3 minutes without anybody saying anything. This is, I think the 3 minutes in there by the town clerk is suggesting that, you have up to 3 minutes so that you don't overrun, and then other people only have 20 seconds because they've done it for 14 minutes and 40 seconds. So we need some wording in there which encapsulates all of that, and Councillor Harvey's suggestion, and how we think it works as well, to explain what it is.
Councillor Ahmed.
Could we possibly add something like at the town council's discretion, a longer period at the town council's discretion? Or let the public know that it's up to a total of 15 minutes for everyone.
Yeah, thank you. In F, we've got shall not exceed 15 minutes unless directed by the chair of the meeting. We could put that unless directed by the chair of the meeting into section G as well.
Yeah.
I'll go with that.
Councillor Stratford.
Yeah, I'm glad that Aidan raised this, because it's one of the things that I hear complaints people going to planning committees that they only get 3 minutes, and trying to represent a very complex matter in 3 minutes and trying to actually do that in that is really quite difficult. Difficult if you want to stick to 3 minutes, but so I think that we do need to, if it's what Councillor Gately's suggestion, that we're doing it with the request of the chair is a way of getting to that. Because what we really don't really want is someone to spend 15 minutes telling us their life story, want to know what their concerns are. I think Councillor Gately suggested just get us to where we need to be. If that's a proposal, I'll second Councillor Gately.
Yeah.
I don't think Councillor Gately's wording is correct either, because that will give everybody maybe 15 minutes.
No.
No, that's
She
not what
said
she
3 minutes at the
Discretion.
unless, so. Councillor Gately, your proposal was that it says, like in point F where it says, unless directed by the chair of the meeting, so if we added that to point G, the chair could give permission for somebody to speak longer.
Yeah, yeah. That's
If appropriate under the circumstances of that meeting. I think that is what you were proposing. Councillor Ahmed.
So we just need like an amalgamation of points F and G, really.
We just need to add that phrase to point G. Which was the proposal, and it has been seconded.
Yeah.
So I will move this to a vote. Everybody, those in favour, please. We are voting to add at the direct, unless directed by the chair of the meeting, point G. Yeah. Okay. 1, 2.
Thank you, Margaret.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Sorry.
Yeah. I think this is unanimous for everybody. Yeah. Okay. Yes, Councillor Osborne.
Yes, the other point I was going to raise was with regards to the raising of motions.
Yeah. Which point is that, please?
Sorry. Lost it for a minute there. So, well, what he said is taking it from 4 days, so you have not less than 7 days, right, to bring your vote. I think considering agendas are delivered, there's a 4-day minimum for agendas to be delivered, that should also apply to motions, because most kind of motions may arrive from the agenda. Just trying to figure out what page it is, but I will show council.
Is it page 85?
Yes, I know, I've read it. I know it's somewhere.
Yes, thank you very much. It's page 85, 9B. 9B and D. So by taking just 7 clear days before the meeting, the agendas can come in 4 days before the meeting. So if motions tend to come out from the agenda, if an agenda comes out and you want to read a motion based on what's you want to be on there, it might be important for you to raise that too. These are written motions.
Town could you answer to this, because I think this is a technical point.
If you wish to have a written motion put on the agenda, for a standard meeting, the agenda must go out on Wednesday. So if you wish me to put a written motion on that agenda, or I was asking for is, could I have it by close of play on Friday? Time to do any background, or do any reading. At the moment, the current rules say I need to have it by close of play on Tuesday, which means if you send it to me Tuesday evening and I'll put the agenda together on Wednesday, I don't have enough time to really background work.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, so that is yeah, Councillor Sutton.
Having drafted a few motions at a time to a few councils, I don't think it's unreasonable, because one of the things the legal officer has to be able to do is determine whether the motion is legal and whether it can actually go to council. What we could have a situation, the motion gets to council and we're told at the meeting it isn't legal. We have to give the town clerk chance to determine that as our legal representative, because it can be that something you do is not within the terms and powers of a reason, and she has to have time. I think Buckinghamshire Council did this, District Council did this, Buckinghamshire County Council did this. I don't think it's unreasonable, and it gives officers a chance to turn it around. I wish the constitution was a bit easier on Buckinghamshire Council, because I'd get a few more done. But yeah, that's not for this meeting.
Okay, thank you for the clarity. Councillor Harvey.
Page 89, 180, item D on that page. It says, consider what then the action taken against him, which is say them.
Yes, I'm going to just that one as well, yeah.
Sorry, I'm just flicking through my pages. That one.
This is 89, 40 D. And the very last, the second of last line, consider what if any action taken against him. I think this is one, you know, one of the old male-centric wording that has escaped the notice.
We'll get that one changed.
Any further comments on the standing orders? Yes, Councillor Gately.
Okay, page 93. 18D, subsection 7. I better find it myself now.
Just so you made a note of it.
The issue of bids in confidential session. I'm trying to make sense of this now. Oh, yeah, it seemed to me, I may have completely misread this, but removing that seems to be very contrary to our current practice. Or am I reading it incorrectly? At the moment, bids with the firm's name come into confidential, and this seems to be removing that.
This is 18. C, is this or
18D.
There are no changes to this. 18D.
No, it's in blue. It's highlighted in blue. It's been deleted. That 93 of 180.
Tenders shall be opened by the proper officer in the presence. The tender is about to name.
Yeah.
About this to be disclosed to the councillors in confidential session.
Yeah, that one.
I think that's basically been removed. I admit that's one of Steve's. If it needs to be dealt with in confidential session, we'll deal with it in confidential session. If it doesn't, and it can be open to the public, then you could do that. I think he's just removing something that's slightly it's not in the model document. Don't have strong feelings either way, because if we go into, if we're discussing something in confidential session, then obviously that's what we're doing.
So I think that the tender goes into confidential, just for clarification, tender goes into confidential anyway, doesn't it?
Usually, but we would have to justify everyone on its merits, we shouldn't just automatically put things into confidential.
Okay.
And that restricts the fact that you would have to go into confidential, whereas obviously it should be if it's appropriate.
Councillor Davies.
Thank you. I read that that it's the disclosure of the names that's being removed from the thing rather than the confidential session bit, so that when you go into confidential session, the information would be there, but the names of the firms or whoever that have tendered would not at that point be disclosed to.
It also says the bid amount, though, and obviously.
Well, the bid of the,
Yeah,
it's a bit of an odd one, that one.
yes. Okay, Councillor
What we need to do is just record, like, you discuss it in a private session, you might discuss, in my view, you might discuss who it was in the tender and make that decision. Well, you might, and you may put the bid amount into public domain. I think it's reasonable to declare who won the contract, but not to declare who didn't win the contract, because the public need to know that you gave it back to X. But I don't think they need to know that you didn't give the contract to Y and Z, because that can be commercially sensitive to the person who's not been successful for the contract. I think that's what would happen, because you should be open and transparent that you gave money to somebody so that it can be checked thereafter. So I would presume, to advise differently, that's how it would work, that you would just do those things in those orders, because you wouldn't, because it's financially prejudicial. The company don't really want to be advertised the fact that they didn't get the contract. I don't think that's fair on the company.
Totally agree.
Yeah. Yeah,
Can we ask for clarity on that one?
Sorry,
On that point?
yeah. So what it's doing, a lot of these have been added in because we had a part in our financial regulations that when we received a tender, that it would be marked in envelopes, with confidential written all over them, and that we would invite a council in, we would open them in front of that council.
It doesn't go, that isn't the point,
But that's why some of these things have come in. The reality is now, you can email these to us, documents in advance. I think what Steve is getting rid of that is basically because it's just superfluous in that if we need to go into confidential session, we disclose those documents in confidential session, don't need to, because we're restricted by the standing orders to do that. However, I really don't have strong feelings on this one, so I'm very happy with the other way councillors want to go.
Councillor Ralph.
All I was thinking was that you could have the word the tenderer who actually won the contract's name could go, and then you leave the others aside, and that covers the eventuality.
We're all in agreement.
Councillor Harvey.
Confidential sessions are still minutes. And decisions made are still minutes and therefore made public. I think what we're agreeing is that when there have been discussions in confidential sessions to appoint blocks to give us a new door or something at a cost of £200 or something, but that goes in the minutes. Maybe not with that level of detail, but certainly if Smith and Jones, whatever, who didn't get it, that doesn't go in the minutes. But in the actual session, and the papers for the session, surely the councillors need to know the bin amount, which is currently deleted in the blue section, and possibly need to know, but not necessarily, the name of the actual firm putting in the bid as well. That's debatable. It could just be A, B, and C. We don't necessarily need to know who A, B, and C are, but we definitely need to know what the amounts are.
The only exception I can think of, sorry, if I'm abusing chair's privilege here, is if somebody needs to declare an interest.
Well, yeah, exactly.
And then they might have to know who the bidders are.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So I'm reading that there is a proposal. Margaret, is there a proposal that we keep that clause 7 in?
Yeah.
Would somebody like us upon this? Okay, several. Councillor Ahmed had her hand up first. Let's vote on this, that we're keeping clause even 7 in there. Those in favour of keeping it in? Okay. Anybody against? Anybody abstaining? That's unanimous. We're keeping that clause.
Santa Claus.
Okay. Any further points? Yes, Councillor Troy.
On page 80, 3X, yeah, I know. No,
You can't keep going back that far. Whenever it's gone, you've missed your time.
on 3X. I always thought there was a clause to say if the clerk and a few other people allowed it, or the other members in the past. When it says a meeting shall not exceed 3 hours or go beyond 2.
So where are we? Sorry.
Yeah. Not that I want it to.
80.
On page 80, at the end of page 80, X.
X, right, that's what didn't.
I always thought that we had that in our standing orders.
Yeah, we'd ask the minute clerk and the clerk if they were happy to work past 10.
Yeah.
Well, just clarify what the actual change is. The only thing that has been added is or extend beyond 2200 hours. So previously it's a meeting shall not exceed a period of 3 hours. However, we're suggesting that we add or extend beyond 2200 hours, because if you have multiple meetings in a night, then realistically going 3 hours on each.
Councillor Harvey.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think we should stick with. I think with what's been put in. I think we should all be mindful enough that these our officers are working for us, hard and diligent and so on. The very least we can do is say, right, 10 o'clock, we stop.
Yeah.
And I think we should all be prepared to work with that, and that means adjusting and managing ourselves to do that.
And you can always,
Sorry.
you can always carry things over to another meeting anyway,
yeah.
so that's fine.
Point of clarification, if the Third World War broke out and we really felt we needed an all-night session, we could set aside standing orders. That's, I think there's now not a proposal to add anything to this.
I think we're.
Later on the points, beyond page 93, where we haven't got to yet, are there further comments?
Resources.
Councillor Harvey.
I move we accept it all now.
Okay, that is subject to the amendments that we have
Yes.
voted on earlier.
Second that.
I second that.
Yes, I seconded it.
Yeah. I want to see clarity through the chair in accepting this in its entirety now
With the amendments.
with the amendment. Are we still giving the same legal weight to someone's participation in the meeting?
No, we're not.
We're not. That's okay. I just wanted to get clarity.
Okay.
No, thank you. I wanted to get clarity on that before we vote, because
Yeah.
it's very
We've done
important.
that.
Can I just clarify, we're only talking about standing orders now, aren't we?
Yeah, we're talking about
Thank you.
standing orders, yes. So, councillor Harvey has proposed to move for vote and accept the standing orders with the amendments we made earlier, seconded by councillor Davies. Can we take this to the vote, please? All those in favour? And I believe this is unanimous. Right. Okay, where are we? Yes, that's over here. But where are we on the agenda? Because standing orders, right.
13.5.
13.5, financial regulations, to receive a report from the compliance and project manager and to review and adopt appropriate financial regulations. So the recommendation is that it is recommended that members agree and adopt the finalized financial regulations.
Agreed.
Okay, so we have proposal from councillor Statutory to agree this and seconded by councillor Willett. All those in favour? Anybody against? Any abstentions? That was unanimous. Sorry, I've got my glasses on, I can't see it. Yeah, no thanks. Right. 13.5, review of arrangements with other local authorities. Actually, we don't even need to vote on it. We received that review, do we? I don't think we need to do anything with that, do we?
No, you need to be aware of it.
We are aware of it.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Noted.
Noted. 13.6, review of representation, review and update work with external bodies and arrangements for reporting back. So we have a whole list there. I think this is the point where councillors might have to say they don't wish to continue doing something. So we need to look at that one. We're taking it line by line, can we?
Yeah, we could speed things up. They're only the ones that are due for renewal, really.
Okay, so that's almost all of them except the ones where the mayor does this ex officio, right? They are all due for nearly all. So, Aylesbury Association of Local Councils, that's councillor Harvey currently. Are you happy to continue?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Aylesbury Valley Transport Users Group, that's councillor Statutory and councillor Harvey.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Buckingham Bardic Council, councillor Davies and councillor Willett. You happy to continue?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Buckingham and Gorka Charitable Trust. That's in addition to the mayor ex officio, councillor Statutory, councillor Hetherington and councillor Harvey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we don't believe councillor Hetherington has said that she won't.
Well, we can always change that.
But we can check that, we can always change it after the meeting. The Buckingham Community Wildlife Project, that's councillor Hetherington, councillor Davies and councillor Gately.
I'll step back from that because I've not managed to attend any meetings.
Okay,
So, thank you. I've a funny feeling I've seen a message from councillor Hetherington indicating she doesn't want to continue on.
Yeah.
right. So in that case, can we clarify this with councillor Hetherington? She has said it, okay, so we currently only have councillor Gately. Margaret, are you happy to continue on that? Okay. Doesn't appear to be meeting all that often, so.
It's been meeting virtually. I think the problem has been that went before COVID, it used to precede Environment Committee, immediately precede it. And therefore, those councillors and then the members of the public would all be present. But it's now virtual and is a completely separate evening from the Environment Committee. And the attendance has been very poor. It feels quite uncomfortable actually, because there are a lot of people in the community who work very hard to promote wildlife and to maintain certain public rights of way, etc. And it feels as though this particular group needs to be strengthened if possible.
Is that a point to take to the next Environment Committee to see whether we can help with that?
Yes, possibly.
Okay. Thank you. So we've currently got councillor Gately on that one. Buckingham Almshouse and Welfare Charities, apart from the mayor, that's councillor Collins and councillor Ralph.
They're still.
That's still very, oh yeah, no, they are the ones that are not at this meeting. My apologies. And councillor, so, yeah. Then Buckingham Youth Centre, councillor Willett and councillor Stutchbury.
Carry on.
And let me see. CA advice, that's only the mayor ex officio. The Christmas Parade Committee is councillor Mordew and councillor Try. Yeah, and I'm assuming councillor Mordew, unless we told us. Dementia Action Alliance, councillor Harvey and councillor Davies. Happy, yeah. Okay. Latest Hill Medical Centre Forum, councillor Try and councillor Mahi.
Yeah.
Okay.
We haven't actually met for a very long time, so.
Yeah.
So,
Meet again.
if they ever meet again, I'm sure you'll be pleased to report.
The Buckinghamshire and Villages Community Board, that's councillor O'Donoghue and councillor Harvey. I'm happy to continue.
I don't mind if John wants to swap on this one, so I'll do deputy and he wants to do the lead. Just to give it a change.
Yeah, okay.
I'm happy with that.
Okay, so I'm swapping that around.
Excuse me. Sorry, just for clarification, I'm assuming they only allow one person attending, do they?
Yeah.
Which is why you've got.
You can attend. John has attended meetings and I've been there. It's just that if there's decisions on grant applications, we'll get like a list out. Sorry, man. We'll get like a list out of people that have applied for some of the grants, and that's what we comment on. So that's what John will be commenting on this time.
Right.
That's all.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you.
North Bucks Parishes Planning Consortium, councillor Ralph.
Good man. Good man.
Contio, that is the mayor ex officio and councillor Harvey and councillor Austin Goldman as deputy. You both happy to continue?
Yeah.
Okay. Tree wardens, councillor Hetherington, councillor Stutchbury and councillor Gately.
Hetherington has also asked for example now.
Okay, yeah.
So, sorry, just a point there. I know I'm slow off the mark here, but the point here, councillor Osivogan is now deputy mayor, so he gets an ex officio into that. So effectively.
No, it's just a mayor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It does make sense for, I would have thought it makes sense for him to be on that.
Yeah, agree, absolutely, but
And if he has to deputise for the mayor as well, then he can wear two hats and change them. So we have councillor Stutchbury and councillor Gately as tree wardens.
Yeah.
Which means we probably want to put out, do we want to put out a call for a third volunteer there? Or not?
I think it would be, I think it would be a good idea. I mean, we used to have a very long list of tree wardens. Then what's probably wore people out is that actually goes planning applications in the same way. But I do think there's a lot of public members who are tree wardens.
Yeah.
And which perhaps we should be, if we don't put council on it, we should be doing more to sing the praises of the public who bring many of the things to us, because we can't be everywhere in Buckingham. How many trees are there? You see the ones which are been removed, and you see the ones which are got applications on. But I do think maybe bring it back to discuss it in environment, how we proceed with that, because I think 2 isn't sustainable. But I don't think we should strong arm people here tonight to be tree wardens, but try and get a way forward, because it is important. We had the year of the tree, which was very late starting, and I think we should concentrate on it.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's another group, and there are loads of other tree wardens, not just the councillors, and many of them are very knowledgeable and active in doing what they can. I think the only thing that's lacking is we don't seem to get together very often as tree wardens, and it may be that, again, this group could be strengthened if we could come together. It wouldn't want to be very often, but just occasionally to discuss common concerns under a tree. Yeah.
So was there a suggestion to move this to environment? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Building Association, as Councillor Shaver and Councillor Mordew, I would like to not keep doing this, because I think I'm on plenty of things. Councillor Mordew goes anyway, because I think he probably needs to be another liaison person unless somebody wishes to do it. In that case, please let us know. And the Rural Market Towns Group, that's Councillor White. Has he indicated whether he wishes? No, we don't know that. Whether or not he wants to continue. Let's ask him. Okay, that brings us to the end of this agenda item. I took a moment, I don't think we need to make sure we have them all. Then where are we?
13.7.
13.7, inventory of land and assets to receive a report from the compliance and projects manager. Can we receive this?
Yeah, thank you. I've got an issue on page 126 regarding the valuation of the bugle that was donated to us by the Rifles. And I think it's giving a value, it's showing value a £1 and insurance value 34,422.
Yes, this comes up every year.
Does it?
I can't remember exactly why, but it has. I know it's been discussed every year. I think it's something along the lines because it was a gift, so it's been valued.
I read. Sorry.
It did work. I've tried it.
I read somewhere in this whole list, it's in these 180 pages, and I can't tell you where, it says that items that are a gift or that have been acquired so long ago that nobody can work out what they cost at the time are valued at a nominal value of £1, but that for the insurance column gives a replacement value. Now, that is obviously one very expensive Google. If we were to acquire a new one, presumably it's historic and everything, and you'd have to acquire it at auction. But that is what I've read somewhere on these many pages.
It's a gift to the town council from the and it's been on this asset register at that value.
2009.
Just for information. When we accepted that, we gave the Rifles the right to march through the town. So they may take that up at some point, so don't be surprised if they decided they want to march through the town, because that was when we accepted we would accept the right for them to march through the town in a ceremonial thing. So they may one day want to do that. So
thank you for that.
No.
Obvious.
There are several items. My understanding is there are several items like this actually on this list. We have a nominal value of 1 and a significantly higher insurance value.
Yeah.
If one has to buy a new one. Okay. Are there any further, does that answer your question?
So,
No. Not really. So, the question,
Assets total.
are there any other,
Interest is 5.7.
are there any other comments? Councillor Martin?
sorry, I couldn't see the deputy mayor's change values from where I missed it.
Deputy mayor's chair.
The coin 3 pence to the 3 pence coins.
Just for sixpences. Who was sixpence?
6 pence.
6 pences, yeah.
So the mayor, the deputy mayor's is a much newer and,
No, it doesn't.
That's fine. yeah,
If it's because it's valued at less than 1,000 on that.
yeah, it probably is.
Well, it's.
Oh, no, I don't think more, because when I was insured everything through my household insurance, there's a lot more than 1,000. That they
So maybe-
insured it for.
Can we find out and get back to you? I don't know.
I think that's really undervalued.
And any points, any further points and questions? So subject to the town clerk checking up on the deputy mayor's medal. And
Change.
it's not a change, the deputy mayor doesn't have a point.
Not the chair, the deputy medal.
It's just a bit of a pendant.
What's the
Mayoral.
merit?
Ah.
Sorry, Claire.
We need.
I knew what you meant, the merit of change in silver sixpences.
Yeah, silver 6 pences.
What I would suggest, councillors, if we could agree this as it is, and if that needs to be added on.
Okay.
get that done,
Yeah,
bring
let's-
that back. Okay.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, thank you very much. I thought you were in the office. I keep losing mine. The subsequent insurances,
Sorry.
the confirmation of arrangements for insurance cover in respect of all insured risks. Councillor,
Could we just note, it's addressed to Paul Hobson, even though it's dated March 2023.
It is, and we have written to them. and asked them
Thank you.
to put their name on it.
Agree.
any phrase? Yeah, everybody else? So we have confirmed those. 13.9 subscriptions, review of the council and or staff subscriptions to other bodies. Councillor Harvey.
Two questions. Did we join the Open Space Society or? Oh, Open Spaces. Oh, yeah, so, sorry, I didn't see that. And what's Dogmatic? That costs us 20,000.
They are the contractor cleaner who does the toilets.
Oh, right. Okay. Thank you.
I'll be happy to receive that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then 13.10, complaints and compliments to receive a report from the compliance and projects manager. Any comments or questions?
Agree.
We're happy to receive this?
Yeah. Receive.
And then 13.11, freedom of information and data protection. Again, to receive a report from the compliance and projects manager.
Killing my hearing aid.
Okay, that's received. I'm so
Agreed.
Yeah, okay, so that brings us to point 14. Thank you all very much for your continuing hard work. We will get there. To review and confirm the council's code of conduct. Any? No comments?
Well, it's a standard.
Yeah, it's a and we talked at length about it.
Yeah, they
So-
probably did training on it. so they-
Yeah. And there are no amendments, so we're just listening. Buckinghamshire Local Plan Consultations to discuss and agree a town council response to the local plan consultations on draft visions and objectives for A, the local plan, B, local transport plan, document circulated. So I think this probably does require some discussion. Councillor Court.
Recheck, did I not? Number 15.
Yes.
Future meeting,
Sorry,
future meeting.
my apology. No, absolutely, I've jumped ahead. To receive a revised calendar of meeting dates. Yeah.
You look very busy, haven't it?
Yes, unfortunately, but as long as it's mostly Mondays, I'm okay. Now point 16. The town council response to the local plan consultations. Councillor Cotworth.
Thank you, Mayor. As chairman of the planning committee, I've worked with the planning committee and particularly with Catherine, planning clerk, on preparing our response to the local plan. It is probably one of the most single important documents we're going to see in this decade, because this shapes the future of Buckinghamshire, and by virtue of that, Buckingham too. Only 3 of 17 councillors have responded to it, which I find extremely disappointing, given how important this document is. Catherine has prepared the comments that those councillors who've made have included, but I'd just like to urge people, please, we've now submitted, or we will be submitting the document after this, and as you can see, we're running out of time. But, you know, just bear in mind, please, how important this document is. This is the local plan for the whole of Buckinghamshire, and Buckingham Town's future rests on it just the same as other towns in Buckinghamshire. So please, could we have some response to that?
Thank you. Yes, councillor.
I agree with what Mark said. I was one of the 3 who responded. I would say though that Catherine and Mark have done a good job of assembling and filing various answers. I would say I would have objected to all the points just to make points, really, but you change that to accept it, but and that's fine with me. So I would commend this to the meeting that we approve this and send it on.
I'm seconding that.
Okay.
Just note that, you know, Buckinghamshire Council haven't been consulted yet, so don't worry.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I responded to the effect that I couldn't object to any of the principles in that outline plan at all. They all seemed very good objectives. What it seemed to lack, and maybe this was deliberate, was how these objectives were going to be achieved. And I was quite concerned that the same fate might await this document as happened to the charter, which seems to have been, the work was done, it was agreed, and then it was put on some bookcase and we're never to see the light of day again.
Thank you. Councillor Zachary.
I think retiring Madam Mayor makes a good point. The parish charter was deemed as consulting and working with parishes, whatever, and it seems not to be enacted as the document said. And she makes a really excellent point that with the consultation sit on a dusty shelf. You have to remember, currently, the Buckinghamshire plan is being determined by chairs of planning committees, cabinet members, and senior officers. There is no other group of people looking at this now. So I hope that they'll read hard work of the councillors together, and I hope that they'll engage, consult as intended, because the only way to make a good plan is to be involved. We could have a situation the plan won't pass muster because it hasn't had a full public consultation and a full public engagement. So I'm quite happy to, as I seconded John's point, that we agree, and I take the points that Margaret raised very seriously.
Thank you. Any other comments, queries? So I think we are then asked to vote whether we agree the town council's response is set out in the appended document. Councillor Holly?
I'll just put my hand to the vote, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so it's been proposed, and I believe, so Councillor Stutbury. Yeah, you proposed. So proposed, seconded. Now let's go to the vote. Those of us who agree. I think that's unanimous.
Could I just add, Mayor, that, excuse me, members can still individually respond to this. It closes on June the 4th, so please, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for also for the encouragement, probably the polite word, to get our act together. Thank you. Point 17, reports from representatives on outside bodies. We have a list of mayoral engagements, mayoral, I'll work that out at some point. Yes.
Do it at the start of the meeting, but can I propose that we record our thanks for the dedication that Councillor Gately put to the role of mayor. There are a list of engagements that have been on here. She's been essentially exceptional mayor. Fair, dispassionate, and I think we should record our thanks in a minute to it. I think this is the appropriate thing if we're looking at a last list of engagements. We should record that our thanks in the minutes.
Agree.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think the meeting.
But you are quite right. Just to make sure that it isn't.
Yeah, this.
Thank you.
Point 19, payment endorsements. What does that?
It's totally in there.
What does that mean?
Yeah, I handed it to you.
So if we could just note that Councillor Donovan
Endorsements,
has endorsed
they're in
payments.
the news a lot lately.
And if you asked to endorse them at the end.
Okay, thank you. And then chair's announcements. Well, I hope to see you all at Mayor Making next Friday. Other than that,
Next Friday.
No,
Friday week.
oh yes, yeah, thank you. On Wednesday, Gordon Park opening of the junior play area. If you can make it
and the following.
at 11 o'clock, please come. And then the following Friday is the Mayor Making.
Don't turn up on Friday, you're on your own.
Yeah, you'll notice very quickly that that was a bit of a wasted journey. But so this Wednesday, day after tomorrow.
Just may I clarify and apologise. We had double booked with the neighbourhood plan working group meeting and a number of members which attend both. So we had a last minute change to Wednesday morning for Gordon Park there. I apologise.
I'm doing making it 2 o'clock so I can bring my granddaughter to get this right.
We around to get one of the school kids down to go to the opening. It's just goes on, so it's just going to look unusual.
I don't know.
Yeah, the thing is, it probably says somewhere that the equipment is not meant for anybody who could have said, or something like that. That's what it tends to say.
I apologise for short notice.
We're doing it Wednesday.
Wednesday 11. I'll make it, please. Yeah. I hope we have lots of kids because otherwise we look a little. And dates of the next meeting, interim on the 19th of Interim Council on the 10th of July. And we have made this to the end of this meeting with some time to spare. So thank you all very much for a thorough, quick discussion.